Welcome to the NorthLakes podcast. I'm the host, Jeremy Oswald. Today we talk to Dr. Tina Sopiwnik, one of our dentists at our clinic in Ashland. You might not hear much from him, but Dr. Tina's dog, Otis, who was a fixture at NorthLakes for some time, came along and sat quietly close by. Dr. Tina and I talk about going to the dentist and what she does to help make people feel more comfortable when they come see her. We talk about a lot of other things as well over almost an hour. It was great to see her and have this chat.
My name is Tina. I'm a dentist. And I work at NorthLakes Community Clinic. I live in the town of Washburn. Actually, that's not really true. I live in the town of Bayfield. No, Bayview.
Right.
Anyway. I moved to the Bay Area in 2009. For this job, to work at NorthLakes. And I've been here ever since and really love it.
Where were you before?
Alaska. Mm-hmm. I was in a small town north of Anchorage. So I was on the road system. Didn't have to fly to my work site or anything. But it was a really lovely community health center and small town. Before that, I was in dental school. So going to Alaska was a way to maybe pay off some of my loans, explore a part of the country I'd never been before. I always knew that I kind of wanted to end up in the Sopiwnik Bay Area. But when I was in graduate school, I thought, where can I get more of port wing? Where is there port wing, but more of it? And Alaska was pretty much it. That was a really great experience.
Port Wing, Alaska. No. And let's see. So I don't need to admit it, but I mean, I remember you coming here. I remember meeting you when you first got here. So it's it's kind of fun to reconnect with you here. But you're from Wisconsin, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from Menominee, down by Eau Claire. And that's where I went to college at UW Eau Claire. So I lived in the Chippewa Valley my whole life. And then went to graduate school in Boston, Massachusetts, Tufts University.
Right. It's good to be back.
It is. Oh, my gosh.
You've been here for a long, you're here much longer than you were in Alaska, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now I have been. I was only in Alaska. I say 4 years because it was 4 winters, but it was really just over 3 years.
And it's kind of neat. This is just more for you and I, but I love that we're recording in our original location that you worked.
Yeah, this is the first place I worked in Wisconsin.
And this place is now a kind of administrative headquarters because we moved to a much larger clinic down the way. But it's also really cool. You have Otis with you. So anybody that knows you when you first got here, they know Otis.
Yeah.
Who's Otis?
Otis is my dog. And he would come to the dental clinic with me. He came for 8 years. And I really loved the feel of this location. There's a lot of pros and cons with restoring an old building, accessibility issues and lots of things that happen in an old building. But one of the things I loved about this particular space is when you walked in, it was like somebody's living room. And then my dog was sitting there. And so you walk into the dentist and you're like, what's this? And so immediately, your perceptions changed and it's just I thought it was a really great feel. Don't get me wrong. New clinic, also great feel, really professional. Just love it. I just love working in a space that's efficient and kind of made for me, and this place always had some fun memories and strange quirks and just really liked it.
It's fun to be here for me too. But what Otis wasn't just here for fun.
No, I think that he provided a lot of, I don't know what the right word is, but I guess to put it kind of bluntly, he was a really nice distraction. There's a lot of ideas you have when you come into a healthcare building. And to be able to be oh, here's this dog. And we had a little sign if you're not comfortable with dogs, just let us know because we have one here. And so there was times that we had to put Otis into the office or something and just kind of keep him in a separate space so that everybody could feel comfortable. But for the most part, he really brought a lot of I'm petting this dog, kind of just nice deep breath, and just kind of reframing your mind when you would come to the dentist. That was convenient, because we were a new clinic in the area. I think a lot of people didn't know what to expect because I was a new provider, and so it was really a nice distraction and a conversation starter. And he had very good boundaries, just kind of naturally, he would never go into a dental operatory unless he was like told to do so. But he would never come into the dental operatory necessarily. He was always just kind of like in the waiting room, or like if we would have, like an administrative staff who was working upstairs, or we had counseling services here before, he'd go into like all the offices and just kind of say hello to the UPS driver, like he was a great presence.
A greeter. Yeah, it was neat. I mean, it was cool to see him walk in and be like, oh yeah. And it hasn't probably been in this building for a few years.
Yeah. It's been a couple of years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So a neat coincidence about Otis being here and you being here in this old space. And we're here because this is where I work. This is where my office is. So thanks for meeting me today.
Well, I wanted to like say, hey, let's do it here.
Awesome.
I want to be here.
Cool. What is a typical patient for you? Like who do you typically see? If like, there's of course no like typical thing, but like,
right.
Who comes and sits in your chair?
We try to prioritize a lot of, children and youth, and people who have like dental pain, people who have like a dental emergency. We try and prioritize like those folks, because sometimes there's like no other place to go except the ER for your dental care. Well, that's not super appropriate. So we want to be able to prioritize youth and people who have like dental pain, pregnant women, patients who have special healthcare needs. We try and make some of these like priority groups in the chair.
And it's not just you. Who do you work with? Like who are you? Who's in the room with you, and what do they do?
Oh, I have a great team. And it's, you say who's in the room, the person who does the appointment scheduling, like they're not in the room, but like we're all together, and you can never do your job unless like somebody else is helping you along the way. So basically like the whole clinic. And the thing that I really like about the community health centers is that, there's no like primary care provider in the room with me, but that's part of the team too. I just really love that part of my job and that aspect. But immediately in my like physical space, there's dental assistant, and down the hall is a dental hygienist, and it's just a really great team to work with.
And how does that work? I mean, I've been in the dentist, so I get an idea. Like I see the dental assistant first, and typically I get my teeth cleaned by the hygienist, and then I get to see the dentist.
Yeah.
And I got to imagine, like knowing you, that it's probably like, okay, what am I getting into? Like, what's next? Like you confer with those folks and talk about like, what am I looking at here?
You mean like in terms of like keeping your mouth healthy?
No, I'm sorry. I guess like I'm thinking of an appointment like I should just ask, how do you work with your dental assistant and your hygienist? What's that collaboration like?
Oh, sure. Well, like one thing that I really like to think about is, how can we make sure to add value for this person who's like with us? So sometimes we'll talk and we'll say, hey, one thing that we can really add value to a patient's dental visit are like preventive techniques, dental sealants, like dental fluoride treatments. And we talk about how we can give the patients the information they need to make a choice. Like, hey, is this something that like would be helpful for your experience today? So we talk about like who might be a good candidate for a dental sealant, or we talk about, just our routine of an exam, make sure we get all of these like pieces of information, so that we can make sure to provide each patient with like super individualized care, but also just comprehensive, the whole picture view of keeping your mouth healthy that keeps your body healthy. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I mean, I love systems, and I love thinking about I don't know how people do their job.
Oh,
That's all. That's why I'm asking. So it's and just to emphasize, like I really appreciate you being here, but I know that it's not just you that's doing it. There's a whole bunch of people that are working together. Not only, as you said, your hygienist and your dental assistant, but like one of the things I love about NorthLakes is that integrated care that, you could, like, hey, walk down the hall. There's a primary care provider. There's a there's a behavioral health provider.
Yeah. I really believe that there's always room for improvement. And so even in a good system like what we have, there's always opportunity to make it better. And I really appreciate that about NorthLakes as well, because, there's like systems of referrals, or there's systems of collaboration and communication. And we're always trying to improve that. And I really think about that when we're doing integration and like, how can we do this better? And how can we make sure that this patient feels whole, feels like they're the driver of their little like healthcare bus, and that we can support them in that journey, and give them access. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. So when there's, and I'm just assuming, I do a lot of assuming on this, and I like to just come across as like, I don't know. Some people are scared to go into the dentist. There's some apprehension about it. Mm-hmm. And first I'm going to say, is that true? Like I'm just assuming, like living in the world, it's like a joke on late night TV, like that kind of thing. Is it true?
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was listening to, I was listening to an interesting story on the radio or on a podcast or something. And it was all about like, just making sure that you can, live your life. You want to do things that make you happy, but that doesn't mean that you can't do things that you have to do. Like do the dishes and clean your house and go to the dentist. And I was like, why is going to the dentist such a chore?
Yeah. Just
So whether we have the statistics or not about how many people are afraid of the dentist, which I know exist, I know those statistics are out there. It's pervasive. Like there's all sorts of dental jokes. And
there's different degrees to it too. So, wow, I get to go and like have somebody's hand in my mouth. It's not like, but like, there's different degrees to it.
Oh yeah. There's dental fear. That's kind of like a joke on a podcast. Oh yeah, I don't like going to the dentist. And then there's, we're learning a lot about trauma-informed care. And there are a lot of people that have experienced trauma. And I know that trauma is held like sometimes in our mouth. And so this is a very serious thing to go to the dentist in general. And it's really great to be a provider that can, again, hopefully just like walk with you through that journey and be available, to help you through some like really hard things.
And what are some examples or what, like how, when we were talking a little bit about your direct dental team, mm-hmm. How do you guys work together? And if there is someone that is like, it's a boundary for them, it's a barrier for them to get care, this fear that they have. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you can do or do to help with that?
It just kind of depends on how people are expressing and like talking about, their barriers to their healthcare. And sometimes it can be as little as like a kid who's like kind of walking tentatively behind their mom or dad, right? And in those situations, it's kind of like, hey, like come with me over here. I want to show you a couple things. And we just do a lot of like, what's your pace and like getting to know you, we've got like heavy blankets, we've got squishy toys. And that's kind of like at its most basic level, like just kind of, hey, how are you doing? Like what's going on? And then I have other folks who have worked with, like a behavioral health counselor and said, hey, these are my boundaries for my dental treatment. And I really want to make sure that you know that ahead of time. And so it's like you can read body language, or you can have patients like tell you what they need, and then everything in between. And I think it just starts with that general respect of, your body's a sacred place. And to do a dental exam, I have to touch it, I have to like look at your teeth and touch your teeth and have these instruments that are foreign to you, but like are second nature to me. So it's very easy for me to be like, oh, I'm going to use this instrument, blah, 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 blah. But if you don't know what that instrument is, and if you've never seen it before, you're less likely to to be okay with that, and it doesn't feel good, but you want to do the right thing. So it's just really about taking like these steps, and I think the team is well aware of that, and they're very good at learning about these patients, learning about our patients, and having that mutual understanding in this trauma-informed dental care that is applicable to everybody, whether you're afraid of the dentist or not. It's just, it's important.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that trauma-informed care?
I think that the trauma-informed care, I guess, practice that leads me to learn more and want to learn more and want to engage is just this idea of having this empathy for people's life experiences and their feelings of like pain and feelings or their motivations, to like brush their teeth or not brush their teeth. All these are just formed by experiences, and or can be formed by experiences. And I think that just learning about how to just communicate with patients in an empathetic way is important.
Everybody had a different morning coming in than I did.
Yeah.
I know what my morning was like. I have no idea what other people's mornings or days were like before I encounter them. Right.
I can have empathy, but but everybody's shoes are like, I can't live in your shoes. I don't know. I'm still learning a lot, and I'm just trying to do my best and just taking it one step at a time. I think like meeting patients where they're at, and really listening, I think are some of the most effective tools that I have. Like just really, hearing what matters to them, helps me understand, how to provide the best care possible.
Evidence that Otis is in the room.
Yeah.
And,
meeting patients where they're at and being able to listen, I think is like the key tenet there. And just, again, just always trying to improve and do better. When I make a mistake, I have to say sorry. I mean, we all have to. We have to be polite. But I think in healthcare, it's not something I was trained to do. It's like, you're the dentist.
Well, I know a big motivator for me and I know this isn't about Jeremy Oswald, but I mean, like when I think about going to the dentist, there's a little bit of guilt, like, oh man, I haven't been flossing,
Yeah.
and for me that works, but I don't think it's appropriate, I'm guessing, for everyone, and that, like, I can just like what you were saying just made me think of like, there are heavy-handed folks out there like that, the guilt trip about, flossing and brushing.
Why would you want to go to the dentist if every time you go, they're just gonna be like, you need to floss your teeth more? I don't know. And you're right. Like sometimes messages work for some people and not others. And again, we're still learning. We're still trying to improve. And so sometimes you'll like try something, see if it sticks. So I used to talk to like 14-year-olds about their goals for their mouth. Like that didn't really stick because nobody wants to talk about, what are you talking about? And so then I would even try and rephrase it like, oh, what do you like about your smile? I don't know, so I'm still trying to learn, and we're still trying to work with people and what works for them, and just always trying to do better.
Yeah. And what about, like I said, kind of works for me. And I'm sure and there can't be one answer, like everybody that walks in is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so what about, I'm going to guess that the first time you see a patient is when they're going to, especially a kid, they're going to be the most apprehensive, because I bet after that, it's like, we're going to see Dr. Tina, and it's like, yeah, this is going to be great.
If only that was true. Sometimes it's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always like sunshine and butterflies at the dentist. but I really do try and do our best because I think I say this on a pretty regular basis, which is I can provide like a service right now, but I really need, like if I'm working with a kid or a family, I really hope that your kid, when they're 17 years old, chooses to floss their teeth and likes going to the dentist and takes actions to like improve their overall health. Like I really hope that is true. And that's the kind of access that I'm giving to this community and to my community. And so with that as kind of like the foundation, then that can drive a lot of the decisions that we make, early on in this like very first appointment. And for like some folks with special healthcare needs, that first appointment is just a consultation because everything needs like a little extra time or a little extra conversation or a little extra showing or a little extra just space, or maybe the lights need to be turned down, which then might take a little bit longer for me to do an exam because there's no lights, So we have to just kind of work with what we have, and that's a gift. I really appreciate again being able to do like the super individualized care, and then the next step can sometimes go like pretty, like you said. Then the next time they come in, woohoo! It's all like we're having a great time. Let's go. And sometimes it's, hey, you know what? Last time, this was hard for you. And sometimes I don't like to say last time. Sometimes I just start fresh every single time. And knowing that it was like difficult last time, say, hey, I've got this thing. You want to try this? Or you want to try this? Like what might work for you today? Or whatever. Anyway, it's like you said, every single moment is different. It can be kind of tiring. But I think the team really helps me pivot. They've been super helpful to like maintain a certain consistency, so that if we needed to pivot, we can do it very quickly and we can really help somebody out so that an experience can be generally good or a job can get done. It can get done well. And we know that people can do hard things, but I'm hopefully looking into the future and saying, are you going to feel pretty good about going to the dentist in 5 years too? I hope that is something that we can accomplish for at least the kids that come in.
Well, and you set up the base work. I mean, you set it up like at the beginning, knowing, you're not like, oh, this person is going to be this way. You just said like earlier on, like how when you say you can pivot, there's not like, this is the one way we do this here.
Yeah.
That like, so like, oh, we're going to have to,
yeah.
Like, oh, lights down for this one.
Yeah.
Going to need some sunglasses or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, my colleague, Dr. Zachary, the other dentist that works in the downtown Ashland location, he said just the other day, it's like, it's such an art, like the work we provide and the service we provide has such a art to it. And that was the time, the context of that conversation was a little bit different than what we're talking about now, but like, it's so applicable,
Right. Like, I mean, you could be at a place where it's just like line them up and let's go, like bang them through. Absolutely. Like that's what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't seem like your style or the NorthLakes style.
No. And it's not a bad style. There's a lot, like efficiency is a wonderful thing. It's like, it's great. And some people, I mean, I know that like I have people who are taking time off of work or coming out of school to go to the dentist. Like that is valuable time, and so we respect that for sure. But when we have these situations of people who are trying to build their like dental culture, their own dental story, we want to be there for them and go at their pace, like we said.
What are some things that a parent can do with their child to kind of get them prepped for a visit?
Sure. I think that, there are, stereotypes is the wrong word. There are stories about going to the dentist that are not pleasant. I'm not saying that those aren't true stories. But what I'm saying is that there's like maybe another way to tell them and everybody's experience is their own. And so I think what I would do is just talk to kids in like an age appropriate way with like age appropriate language. And there are certain words that we can avoid without being dishonest. We don't have to talk about a shot. Like that feels really intimidating, especially to somebody who's never had one, And so maybe a better way to talk about like getting numb at the dentist is, it's different for everybody. I wonder if we can ask Dr. Tina that question when we go and see her, and yeah. And I don't know. I think that's like a suggestion. There's probably a lot of different ways that we can.
You have kids.
Yeah.
What do you tell them? If you don't mind me asking, but like, how do you, and they've been to the dentist, I assume?
Yeah.
Or you just do it at home?
No.
Sorry. That's good.
I've done it like two ways. So recently I've joined my kid with the dentist and
no pressure.
Yeah, no, the good acquaintance of mine, really, I really love my kid's dentist. And they'll, my kid gets a little nervous and I don't think she likes it when people touch her face, so she's taking a lot of breaks. She's like sitting up, sitting back down, sitting up and sitting down, like doesn't like something, but she's not quite sure how to like talk about it. I said, would it help if I was here? Can I hang on to your hand? Like those are all kind of yes and no questions. You want to like generally ask, oh, honey, what can help you right now? But in that moment, we do have a job to get done. She knows she can do it. She's done it before. I said, hey, I'm here. Like, let's be together. What would be helpful right now? And then like literally she just like sat back down and opened her mouth, so kids can be any different ways. But when we're done, I give her lots of support. Hey, good job. That was a hard thing, huh? And that, again, that's like, I guess that's a very mom thing to do. Like, oh, honey, that was hard. It might not have been hard, but here I am putting words into her mouth. So how's that feel? How you doing? I think you did a great job. Thanks for helping the dentist out. That helps me too.
So not only ahead of time, but it's like, that sounds like you would recommend that for other parents is like after the appointment. Those are some things that
how you doing?
Yeah.
Is there anything we can tell the dentist next time? I think that would be a helpful question. Is there anything that you could tell the dentist next time about your visit today? And then there's other approaches that I've done with my own kids. Like sometimes my little kid needed to get a dental procedure done. And I was kind of nervous because I knew she had to get numb. And I know how she feels about like strange feelings. I know that she doesn't necessarily love this. And it's hard because I think she kind of goes inward. Other kids will cry. Other kids are dead silent. Which you're thinking, oh, this is like super cooperative kid. It's like, no, they are feeling very scared right now. Like we really just have to always be calm, gentle, check in, thumbs up, thumbs down. Anyway, that my approach that particular day was to not be in the room. And like I said, I love my kids' dentists. There's a couple of them, and they did great. And she got done. And and I knew that dentist knows how to do her job very well, so done, prize from the prize box, all smiles, a little bit of farting putty. She's so happy.
Always makes me feel better. What has that been like to have been a parent? How has that changed how you do your job? Has it?
That's a really good question because when I wasn't a parent, I really thought that so it's hard for me to tell because as my career has evolved, I've also become a parent. And so was it the fact that my career has evolved and I've had more experiences and I've got really excellent mentors, like some of the like best people, excellent mentors. Like, is that why I feel like my practice has changed? Or is it because, like just the human element of having a kid that looks like you in the chair, like, wow, you look a lot like my kid. And so I've had to apologize because I'm like, hey, sweetie, because that's what I call my girl at home. And like, here's my dental patient. And I'm like, oh, sweetie. But like, it's just, like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't mean to like use pet names on your child, but it's just, you remind me of my own kid. And I don't even know if saying that is appropriate, but it's just a real thing, and people appreciate that too.
Well, right. So what about an adult? Like, we've talked a lot about kids. What is there something, I don't know, something different about an adult when you're feeling a little apprehension?
Well, you talked a little bit earlier about, I know what my commute into work was like. I don't know what you did to come into the dentist today, And so I think you just have to start out there. Just start there. And the fact that somebody's there with you, and a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier or during the introduction, that I try and see a lot of people who have dental pain. We just do our best. We can't see everybody. And I know that some people still elect to go to the emergency room. And oftentimes the reason is because they don't want to go to the dentist. They're so scared. So I kind of have this like just baseline of not sure why you're here. How can I help you? What questions can I answer? How are you feeling today? And just really kind of starting there. And then you might be able to get some information about what they need to feel supported that day. But yeah, adults are different because oftentimes not going to the dentist can make something worse. And then you go and all you want, like here's an example. I'm in the business of saving teeth. I'm a dentist. I want people to have their teeth their whole life. I've met patients who do not want their teeth. Yeah. It's a hard thing to understand, but it's not my job to understand it. Like they have a toothache, they have a tooth that's broken. And to be honest, that's maybe a tooth I can't save anyway. Maybe it needs an extraction so that their whole body can feel healthy. That's like infection that's in their head, so this is like a serious thing. And nobody wants to feel judged when they don't want their tooth. I'm not going to try and talk like somebody in or out of like certain treatment, but I do have recommendations, and I'll recommend this a little bit stronger than I might recommend that. But I hope that I even present it that way. You have all of these choices. You can do nothing. You can do a tooth extraction. You can do a tooth root canal. And there's pros and cons to all of these things. And I want to be able to support you. Like you have all of your other teeth. This is a tooth that like maybe you can adapt without, or no, you should really try and save it because it's a really strong and important tooth, there it is. Should. They don't want to should too much. But people want to know what your opinion is. And you just have to find that balance, between, again, letting them drive their ship and supporting that driver, but also providing excellent care.
Well, but you're the expert too. I totally appreciate you saying like, you don't want to say should.
Yeah.
But if I'm coming to you, I'd like to think that I place your faith in you because you look at a lot more teeth than I do.
Absolutely.
So like, how's that? That's got to be hard to balance too.
I think it is. I think that's one of the hardest parts of my job actually, is because I want to, like, in my head, I'm like, ooh, I know what having a healthy set of teeth means for your overall health. Like this is a very important thing. Yet here you are at the dentist for the first time in 10 years and your face hurts, and I can't make any promises about what the dental treatment is going to be like. But I want to meet you where you're at, and I want you to be able to come back, and I always want this door to be open for you, because this could be a decision right now, and we can like help you through that choice. And if you ever wanted to learn about like more choices, a little bit more in depth, I want to be here for you, which is also a really hard thing because we can't be everything for everybody. I mean, it's a busy clinic and it's hard to get everybody in. And so that's been a struggle too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's the dream world and then the world we live in.
We just, yeah.
When you, when somebody hasn't been in a long time and then they finally do come in, then here, I like to generalize. I was a sociology guy, so I like, like big groups, like this is how we're going to do it. I'm generalizing here. When somebody comes in after that 10 years, do they typically wait another 10
to come back?
It kind of
depends on like why you're there. Like what drove you to come back? What are you looking for? What questions can I answer? And I can give you these questions. And then in a situation like that, I can't, even in a year's time, I can't fix, dental issues that have accumulated over time. And some super healthy, genetically gifted folks, like sometimes you can. Like, wow, that's amazing that you don't have any like periodontitis after not going to the dentist in 10 years. Like, that's amazing. What a gift you have from the DNA gods. I don't know. But most folks like, well, then there's this inflammation creeps up. So we have to treat that inflammation in your gums. And then we have to treat this inflammation in your tooth. And then we have to treat these bacteria. And we have to like bring in your, other like health conditions into the mix, because that influences what's happening in your mouth. And nutrition and diet, all of these affect your health, your overall health, and of course your teeth. So these things aren't fixed. So I try and break it down. Phase is like, here's little, like the early, like the intro phase, like welcome back to dentistry. Mm-hmm. Here's some priorities. Mm-hmm. And then we can build on that over the years.
And I'm going to throw you a little bit of a softball here. So,
thank goodness.
Yeah, no, this is, why is it important to go to the dentist? I think we kind of outlined a little bit, but I'll let you give your elevator speech about it.
Is this embarrassing that I don't have my elevator speech prepared?
No, and I don't. You can answer it anyway. You can take half an hour to answer it if you want.
Because it's part of primary care. If you are looking for a way to keep your self happy, healthy, happy and healthy, they go hand in hand, right? The dental team is part of it. It's part of the conversation. It's what's, you go on a cruise ship. I've never been on a cruise ship, but they're all inclusive, right? Because you're on the ocean, but you've got like your restaurants and you've got your entertainment and you got all these things. It's all great. And like, I love thinking of healthcare in that way, is that like, hey, I've got all these services and all of this, like, it's like a buffet table of healthcare, and like dentistry is on that table every time because there's just so much association with overall health and your tooth outcomes, a lot of association there.
Yeah. And you were just saying, like, you don't go, or if you don't take care of your teeth, mm-hmm. there's going to be that pain that one little tooth is going to affect your whole day and everything that you do. If you're not taking care of it.
that's sometimes like the worst case scenario, because that could be like a sign of an infection or like a major problem in your body, and so I just really love the idea of being able to teach people about these interesting associations between your oral health, your teeth, and your dental care, and then just like the overall health. I think the most obvious answer to that question is like, well, smiles are such an amazing first impression, and going to the dentist is a good way to take care of it.
For sure. Yeah. So you've been doing this for a while now.
Oh yeah.
You like it?
Yeah. I don't know if people even know this, but like working in a community health center setting is like potentially different than like, working out of a small boutique dental practice, and so when I'll go to like a conference or a dental meeting or something, people are like, so is this your career? Is this your job? Oh, and I guess I never really thought of it as any other way. I really love, again, the idea of working with an integrated team, not just an integrated team of dental professionals. I mean, you can go integrated in dentistry. Like you've got your dentist and your oral surgeon and your periodontist and your endodontist and the orthodontist, and they all work together. That's an integrated team. But like, this is, again, primary care. That means a lot to me. Your behavioral health specialist and your primary care provider and your dentist and you all just working together, just fantastic.
How does that work? I mean, like you have had people come sit in your chair and you're like, I'm taking care of your teeth. I got that. Mm-hmm. Have there been moments where you're like, hey, you might benefit from some of these other services here at NorthLakes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I I could do like a little bit of extra work, and I could do some pretty good like smoking cessation programs at the dental office, and we could like make it like pretty inclusive. But smoking is an addiction, and that's like treating addiction. That's not my forte. I think as a dentist, I can get tools, and a lot of dentists and actually dental hygienists are amazing, like smoking cessation, providers. Like they can really help out a lot of people. And I think we do. But that's like just an example of where it's like, you know what, that's not my area of expertise, because there's a lot of reasons why people smoke. And one of them is that it's an addiction in your brain, And so working at NorthLakes, we just have a lot of services and a lot of people like working to help you with that part of your life. If that's something that you're interested in, I can get you that information out the door.
And as you were talking earlier, when you're building this, what did you call it? Dental, not program, but progression. Mm-hmm. There is a trust that is developed between you and a patient. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to guess that it's when you make a suggestion coming from you, someone that is trusted, it's going to hold a little bit more weight than me coming in off the street and saying like, hey, you should do this.
I mean, I hope so. There's that should word again,
I use it all the time.
But I mean, I hope so. And it's really hard because again, I work in this community health center. So I'm really thinking, I mean, there's, I'm not sure. I know that there's depression screening, and there's all sorts of like, we take your blood pressure at our dental clinic. We try and take your blood pressure. If we don't know you well, we're going to take your blood pressure so we can kind of say, hey, you know what? This looks like pretty healthy range. You're definitely like good to do your dental work when you come to the dentist. But if something's a little bit higher, maybe we should consult with your primary care provider. We do that. That's a little bit different. I think it's becoming more standard in dental practices in general, but that kind of like integration. And so I want to do all of that all the time. But again, when you're establishing trust with somebody that you don't know, you can't just like, sometimes I'm, what's the expression? Water from a fire hose.
Drinking from a fire hose?
Yeah. I don't want to like make my patients drink from a fire hose. And sometimes I have the tendency to do that sometimes. So take a step back, build these relationships, again, meet their needs. How can I answer your questions today? Or what questions do you have for me today? And then hopefully bringing them like back in for like preventive care and just general dental maintenance. And then we're having some more of these like conversations about smoking cessation and heart disease and diabetes and making sure they get all the tools that they need and all the tools they want, from their primary care providers. I feel like I'm part of a primary care team,
Well, you've been doing this a while, and you must know, like you kind of know your relationship with the patient. I'm going to guess where you're at with them.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're still they're not on the bus quite yet.
Yeah.
But this one on the bus.
Yeah.
And the door is open for suggestions such as that.
Yeah. And then also though, not having my own biases stand in the way either, Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But just say like, hey, this door's open for you if you want it.
Yep.
But again, like that's one way. Everybody's different.
I have said in appointments in the past, like, listen, I wouldn't be a dentist unless I said this.
I like that. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So there's my obligatory, this should statement, and now we can move on. How do you feel about that, or whatever, like, what do you think?
Oh, you're open, and you're open for the discussion with your patient. Mm-hmm. But I do like that. Like, I kind of like with my dentist badge, I got to say this.
Yeah.
So you've been you've been here at NorthLakes for a long time, and do you want to talk a little bit maybe about the evolution of NorthLakes? Here we are back in this building,
oh yeah,
absolutely. And NorthLakes has grown quite a bit in the time that you and that you've been here. What is your perception, or what do you see, or what's your story? Like, what's your NorthLakes story as you see it?
So So I think the NorthLakes story started like 30 years ago, or, maybe 40 years. I mean, I don't know all the providers that were here like back in the day, but listen to this. So I was working in a dental clinic in college, and folks would call the clinic and say, I need help. I've got this tooth that really hurts me. I need to like see a dentist. Well, we don't take your insurance, or I call that place and they don't take my insurance, or I have nowhere to go. Like this would happen. I was just answering telephone calls at a dental clinic, and these were the calls I was getting. And you know where I told him to go? You should go see Patrick Liedl up in Turtle Lake. So I love the name NorthLakes because there's all of these lakes all over our communities. And they get connected by these rivers, and some of the lakes are probably man-made, and some of them have just always been there. And they're getting connected, and I feel like NorthLakes just brings in, like the organization NorthLakes now is just kind of bringing this stability in. Patrick Liedl is no longer a dentist in Turtle Lake, right? But now there's like 3 or 4 of them there, which I don't know if that would have happened without NorthLakes, So anyway, it's just been this really great system of like flowage and river and lakes and it's been going on for decades. And I was just happy to be part of like the Ashland Lake, the greatest Lake Superior,
right?
Not Ashland.
No,
not me. Just Lake Superior is awesome. And I'm happy to be on the shores here, but I was part of the Ashland story, and that's where I started. And that was in 2009.
I like, on our kind of the page that we use to clock in and out, there's a little community social media kind of component to it. And there's always the, so-and-so is celebrating an anniversary today. Mm-hmm. And there was somebody that I think they just had their 29th year anniversary here not as a member of NorthLakes, but as of serving the community in a community health center. And I always love that reminder of like, we are under the NorthLakes umbrella, but there's been people out there that have been doing it a lot longer than NorthLakes existed. And
so much longer.
We've just been lucky enough to kind of be a little bit of glue, or as you were saying, the water system that brought it all together.
Yeah. Can I just tell you about my favorite month of October? Because it's Halloween, and I don't know why I have so much fun on Halloween, but it's just my favorite time of year. And I love handing out toothbrushes and dressing up like the tooth fairy. And some people might be like, oh, Halloween downer. Like, oh, you're like, you're thinking about healthcare during Halloween when we're supposed to be getting candy. But like, I think every time I've handed out like flossers and toothbrushes, people are really excited. They smile. And this year I'm really excited because the toothbrush company, it doesn't just have orange and black toothbrushes. They have black and purple, kind of like witchy toothbrushes. I'm like, ooh. So we're going to spice it up this year.
Where are you doing that, at home or out of the clinic, or?
No, I'll usually just like take a wheelbarrow and walk up and down Chapel Avenue, which also like, this is something that's changed since I've had children of my own, is like, who is this woman walking down Chapel Avenue and like giving me things? So since then I've kind of stayed put, and like some people can come to me, or I'll say, hey, do you want a toothbrush? So rather than like going up to people, which I've done too. Hey, take this.
You should take one.
Little child.
It's a witch with a toothbrush.
Tooth fairy.
Tooth fairy. Oh, nice.
I dress up like the tooth fairy.
There you go. And I'm going to put a photo on. Like, I put a picture up for your photo. With the podcast, so I'll do that.
Yeah, we'll find a tooth fairy one.
I got one last question for you. What's in your car right now?
My car? Oh, this is fun. I've got like lounging, like a beach chair. Always got a beach chair in the back of the car. I think that there's a bike helmet. There's a lot of garbage. Yeah.
You have kids?
I mean, no, it's my garbage. And what's in the front? Oh, a dog leash. I always have a dog leash in the car. There's always like roll of toilet paper in the car. Oh, there's a couple of straps, not ratchet straps. But canoe straps for the canoe. Those are always in the car. Car seats. Boosters, actually, at this point. My kids are a little older. I have a kid who is 7 years old, but she's a little bit smaller. So even though she's in second grade, she's got full. I mean, people are going to have their booster seats, I think, until they're like ninth graders these days. But anyway.
So you're ready. You got everything in there.
Oh, yeah. Ready for anything.
Dr. Tina Sopiwnik, it's been so nice to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming in on your day off and giving us some time for this podcast. Thank you. It's really good to talk to you.
Oh, I hope we get to do it again because, I love seeing you and I love talking about the things that make me happy, like NorthLakes and dentistry.
You should come back. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. I think both of us are fans of this place. I don't know if that came out in our talk or not, but it was a nice stroll down memory lane with Dr. Tina. Thank you so much for being here. It was great to see you and Otis. NorthLakes Community Clinic is a community health center with locations throughout northern, eastern, and western Wisconsin, offering a variety of services and actively removing barriers to wellness. Learn more by going to our website, nlccwi.org. And don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening. We sure would appreciate it. I'm today's host, Jeremy Oswald. Thanks for listening to the NorthLakes podcast.